Hello interwebs, Dalton Young from 1331 Studios here, and we're going to be doing an analysis of the 3D rendered artwork revealed at the Final Fantasy XV Uncovered press event. With introductions out of the way, let's watch the video and get to work. So first I want to stop and take a freeze frame of just the art for a second, and discuss what we can understand just alone from this, and we'll contrast that later. The first thing I would like to point out is the sort of portal to another world that is shown ever so slightly on the left side of the image. If you look, you can tell the white stream of energy that is shown all over the art is coming from that point, and if you look closely, you can make out what looks to be a castle or a large building of some sort. The energy seems to be coming through a portal, weaving in and out, creating some tornado cyclone type shape, and inside the energy waves, I believe to be your summons. We'll get to that in a sec. That is going to be the basis for most of the analysis here, but for now, we'll just call them creatures. I'd also like to point out that from this point of view, it's almost impossible to discern stuff from one another. Like, you can't point out each individual creature easily from this angle or from just the image itself. Okay, so let's move on to the good stuff and pop into the 3D. So the 3D starts off with energy pouring from the portal. So I guess that kind of confirms my previous statement. The second freeze frame I'd like to take a moment and go over is the first image right when it becomes 3D. You can see a little bit of stuff that's easier to make out now that it's been 3D-ified. In the top left, you can see that the portal and castle turned to like some mystic clouds, creating more of a illusion of a portal than actually seeing the portal itself. To the right, you can see what at first looked like to me was one creature, but if you look closely, you can tell that it's two. One that's like a butterfly moth-looking thing, and another eel-like looking thing. So I guess that makes two creatures here. Let's put two on the counter. From there, if you move down, you can see a humanoid-looking girl being carried by some other kind of creature. So let's add two to the counter there. To the right of that image, you can see what looks to be two more creatures, but I can prove that it's only one, but we'll get to that anyway. Almost in the exact same place as that creature, we'll have another one, and this would be pretty much my confirmation on the summons thing. Even though it doesn't show that all of them are summons, this at least shows that some of them are. And this one would be Leviathan, the blue guy back there. Leviathan is one of the big summons that have been shown off so far, so he is a pretty good reference point to use for information for the game. Above Leviathan's head, you can see there is a floating, like, chicken thing. It could possibly be a chocobo summon. If you look closely, you can see that he's got both a beak and talons, or claws, a chocobo has. If you're riding Leviathan, you can make out, like, a goat boy figure and some demon-faced blob thing that's kind of hard to see. It's kind of even tell if he's got a face. And if you look to the right of that, you can see who, to me, is quite clearly Ifrit. Probably the most badass rendition of Ifrit that we've ever had, but still, I believe that's Ifrit. And above Ifrit, you can see what looks to be some sort of fire spirit. To me, it looks humanoid, but all of the humanoid looking people don't look like people. They look like spirits or sprites or fairies. The last summoned creature you can see, and I almost miss this one every time I go through the video, is in the bottom right. You can see a dark knight that's hidden very, very well in the bottom right of the screen. I'm pretty sure this is the last time you see this, whatever it is, in the entire video. Now after the pan, we get a close-up of the woman in the pink dress and the thing carrying her. Now we see it's a demon that I can't make out, mainly because demons are such a vague thing to be talking about when you have summonings and monsters in the world of Final Fantasy. But we can see now that it isn't just a random thing, it is a demon. Now to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if these two were a pairing, mainly because of the way that it's holding her, but we'll find out in the future. After those two, we take a pan to who I believe to be Titan. I've been very conflicted on whether to say this is Titan or not. The eyes and tongue seem very crazed and don't seem very Titan-like, but when you cross-check the tattoos from the trailers, they're very similar. So we'll call this Titan for now and come back to it in future videos. Next we'll get to see the eel thing up close, and we can make out that it's definitely not a bird or a flying dragon of any kind, mainly because it's got these weird tentacle things at the side, and the only thing around it are these tentacle things actually, so whatever it is, it's definitely not something that we're used to seeing. Now as we pan away, if you look in the background, you can actually see some sort of brown thing. It's never actually shown off, but it looks like something. I'm not going to count it for anything, but it could be something to note for later. I'll look into it. Pause again on this wide shot just to point at a couple new summons and to verify a couple other ones. So the first thing that I'll point out is the mask guy again, and if you look closely you can see that it is definitely one guy if this is one like monster creature summon thing. I don't know, sorry for giving it a gender, PC World, but either way you can make out that it is just one. It's not two masked things, it's just one with two masks. But if you look behind that, you can see what looks to be a wise wizard, we'll call it. I don't know whether it's like a hidden or something, or what the point of it's supposed to be, but I just really wanted to point it out because as I was zooming in on the images, I found that, and I kind of found it a little bit crazy because it's really Easter eggy. Next we'll take a look at the blobby image and see that, guess what, it's got a little creepy smile on its face. That makes me happy. I couldn't find anything that this could represent, and it kind of blows my mind because it's so creepy. If you look to the right of that, you can see the goat boy again, but I'm really not sure what that could be. In the top rightish area, you can see that they're in the top rightish area. Not that it's a big deal, but you can see flames that pan across. If you watch the whole video, then you can see it made it a little bit clearer, but I'm not going to say it confirms Ifrit, but to me it does. Bottom right, we have who I believe to be Goblin, an old-ass Final Fantasy summon, which to me would make sense since Square is using everything they've ever loved about Final Fantasy in this Final Fantasy. Behind Goblin, you can see a humanoid blonde woman, and if you look close, again, not quite human enough for me to believe that it's a human. Could very well still be some sort of fairy, but you know, we'll count it. Okay, so now here's the biggest sticking point when I was making this video. Either I'm wrong and like only 3 or 4 of these are summons and the rest are like monsters and other plot points of the game, or I'm right and they messed up, or maybe they wanted to change artwork in some way. Because if you look at Odin's horse only has 4 legs, and you might be like, Dalton, why is that a big deal? Well, it's a big deal because Odin has always been depicted having 6 to 8 legs, never less, never more. And I think that's a big point to point out here. In both of the shots, he only has 4 legs. I couldn't find 6 at any other angle, and I can't prove that he has anything other than 4 legs. With that all said, though, I am going to count him, and I am still going to roll with my theory. I just did want to point that out. So now, for the ending of the video, and this is another plot point, which I'll just graze and talk about for a second, you can clearly tell that this is a crystal-like image. The way that the edges are sharp and the way that they are jagged suggests that they are. So I would like to point out that all the power and everything is going into this crystal, and I think that's a huge plot point that is going to be brought into Final Fantasy 15, that the crystals, the summons, all of that is going to be tied together, and that is what your adventure is going to entail. But we'll talk more about that in part 2. I'll go into more detail about the 17 different monsters and summons that we talked about in this video. Look for that next week or the following week, depending on the schedule. And also look for some of the other videos that will be released this week and next week on this channel. We have hopefully a pilot for an animated series coming up, so look forward to that. Thank you for watching. I'm Dalton Young from 1331 Studios, and I hope you have a sick day, interwebs.